Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different video. Sometimes, as you guys know, if you follow my channel, I occasionally will do some stuff about car mods. And since I did get a 2019 Kia Stinger GTS, I wanted to kind of show you guys all the mods that I've done to that car. Because there's quite a few cosmetic mods and I've done a performance mod. So let me get out in the garage. Actually, I'll pull out in the driveway where the lighting's better. And I'll show you guys everything that I've done so far. All right, guys, here she is. Yeah, I'll put my finger over the license plate. But yeah, here is the 2019 Stinger GTS. You can probably already see one mod that I already did. But yeah, let me walk around the car here and kind of show you guys the side profile. So here it is. You know, of course, this is the GTS model that they made in 2019. This has 66,000 miles. I've not put much on it since I got it. And they only made 800 of these. This is in this Federation orange. I believe they made like 400 in the rear wheel drive and 400 in all wheel drive. I'm not exactly sure on that, but this one is the all wheel drive variant. So let me show you the performance mod I did. The only performance mod I've done so far, I've not tuned it. And that is putting in the cold air or the intakes. It's not a true cold air intake. Let me go ahead and pop the hood and I'll show you that. Okay guys, so here are the intakes. You can see they are in blue. They don't have an orange colored one, but I actually picked these up on eBay. It was just a seller that had one set of them, brand new. And it was way less than the typical price for these HPS intakes, so I couldn't pass it up. I guess the only true cold air intakes that they make would be, I said Takade, I don't know if I pronounced it right. They are actually enclosed. So yes, you are getting some engine heat, but there is some heat shield in here. And you still have air coming in and being directed. It comes in the front bumper and it comes up there. So these still are going to make a difference. They sound cool. Now they rate these, I think, at like 25 horsepower gain. I'm highly suspicious of that. I don't think anybody believes that, but I think, you know, 5, maybe 5 horsepower is certainly doable with this, but it really sounds cool as well. And it's pretty straightforward. There's a little work to get it put in, but you know, if you take your time, most people can do it if you're a little bit mechanically inclined. That's pretty much all I've done performance-wise. I don't have a JB4 or any kind of tuners. I don't know if I'm going to get to that. I mean, this car's quick enough. I don't plan on going to the track, so I probably don't need that. I did have the spark plugs replaced because I don't think the last owner, this said 2 previous owners. The first owner, I think, did some of the stuff to the car, which I'll try to show you. The second owner, I think, was an idiot because they didn't seem to do any maintenance to the car. The car was repoed from them and they put a lot of miles on it. And that is somewhat concerning, but the car wasn't trashed. But I don't think the spark plugs are ever replaced. So I did put Denso's stage 1, is it Denso or Denko? I can't remember, I think it's Denso. Stage 1 spark plugs in. I did gap them to 0.022. Burger Motorsports says you can do that for stock or modified. A lot of people say that you don't want to run the tighter gap if your car, unless your car is tuned like a JB4. It runs fine for me, so I can't tell any difference. So I think it's just fine, and I would just kind of follow along what they say, because finding spark plugs for this car are not that easy. So they're not that cheap either. They're about $10 a plug. But that's pretty much it that I've done in terms of performance. Everything else is going to be cosmetic, aesthetics, you know, appearance mods. So let me go ahead and shut the hood and I'll show you all of those mods. So the first one I'll show you, and you probably saw this at the very beginning of the video, but I swapped out the Kia logo. Now this being 2019, it had the old Kia logo on it, and I'm not a fan of that. Now, a lot of people have gone with those E badges. I think those look horrible. Now, if you like it, that's fine. It's just personal opinion. I can see why you might want to swap out the original Kia logo for something different. That's what I wanted to do. But I think the new Kia logo looks great. This is off eBay. It's a gloss black, and it looks awesome. There are a few holes where the original logo has like these 3 little pegs that go into the holes. But this came up pretty easy. This car has been in a couple small fender benders, especially I know the rear fender bender said it was minor, the front's sort of unknown. But you could tell that Kia badge had been replaced on this bumper. It was not that difficult. It was very easy to get off. Some people have trouble getting those off and they worry about actually ripping the paint off. I had none of that problem. So this already had adhesive on it. It was around, I think it was under 20 bucks. Might have been 10. And you just can line it up over those holes and it looks centered. I mean, technically it could be just, you know, a centimeter off or less, but it's not something you're going to notice, and it looks great. I absolutely love the way that it actually looks on the car. So that's what I've done on the front, was just swapping it out. Boy, what a difference that makes. Not that I thought the original Kia logo was horrible, it's just not nearly as nice looking as the new one. Now, a few things that I'm sure the original owner did to this car is these Brembo brakes, the calipers are red. And you can probably see some chipping here. I tried to paint some of them a little bit, but they didn't take the calipers off. I didn't want to get it onto the rotor. But I did a little bit of touching up on it with caliper paint, but they painted these black. I don't mind it. The red's fine too, but I could see why they went with the black to kind of take away that kind of Happy Meal look that you get with the red and orange and black. And then they obviously had this painted, and it really buffed out nice and looks good once I buffed it, because it was kind of fading. But it kind of makes it, gives you, I'll back up, the whole roof is one black piece. And I remember one of the reviewers when the car came out on one of the channels down in Florida, I think it was, mentioned how he wished that this was black. So maybe that's where the person got that idea. The little satellite, I believe this is a satellite antenna, it's kind of faded. I cleaned it. It probably isn't easy to paint that plastic. It doesn't look great, but it's okay. So then let's go ahead. Those are the mods that kind of were already on it. There's quite a few to cover. They're very small, but now since this car had been in some sort of a fender bender in the back, and you can see my license plate there, so I'm not going to worry about it. This had just the Kia logo here on the rear, the old Kia logo. And it looked horrible. I know that the original, like 2018s, had that, and then they have a Stinger logo, emblem or badge over here, and then the GTS over here. I guess whenever they had this repainted, I assume, and it seems to match pretty good back here, though there's this weird little something I can't get off here on the bumper. But I was able to get that off with no problem, and then do some measurements, and I found this gloss black Stinger logo or badge or emblem, whatever you want to call it, on Amazon for around 20 bucks. You can get it cheaper for probably half that price if you want to get it from AliExpress. And I replaced that. Man, it's made a massive difference. Now, I cannot find the GTS badge anywhere. I have looked high and low. I imagine there's a way to get it directly from Kia, but obviously this garage that did this didn't have that stuff, and they just stuck the generic Kia badge on. But I got one from AliExpress or eBay, and it was like silver, and I just spray painted with some of my Tamiya RC paint, because you know my channel's mostly RC stuff, and I thought it matched pretty nice. So I'm gonna leave it on there and see if that paint holds, because I just wanted some sort of a badge saying this is at least the GT, though it's the GTS. I do have another one I got from, that one I got from AliExpress that's a little bit more of a matte black that I can put on here if this one starts to chip or anything happens. But I thought that my paint job better matched the gloss than that matte black one. Now here I put this trunk lip spoiler on here, different names for it. This was about 60 bucks from eBay. It's not expensive. Now it didn't have any kind of application method. It didn't have any of the 3M double-sided tape. There's some mounting holes. I'm not about to try to drill holes through my trunk to mount this on. So I got some of that, and you want to make sure you get good, authentic 3M exterior double-sided tape. And that's what I used. And I just lined it all the way on the bottom, and then I just lined it up and put it down, and it's perfect. I take it to the car wash. It is not going anywhere. And it has plenty of surface area to make contact, so it looks great. I love it on this car because I'm going for that orange black look. Now, these Canards down here, these were on sale on Temu of all places. You can see here, I'm making sure that this is, you know, the adhesive. It came with some backing on it. And these were like 20 some dollars for 2 of them. I like the look of them. They're plastic. There's much nicer metal Canards you can buy. Those are like gonna run you $100 for 2 of them. I'm not gonna spend that kind of money on that. So these look pretty good. If they start to come off, I can rip them off. They're not gonna hurt anything. They did come with a 3M style, probably not authentic 3M backing. Now this one here, it could just be the way this plastic bumper, I mean, it looks like they seated it good, but you know, I think this this is just doesn't adhere quite as well as the other side, but it still looks good. Just looking at here, I can kind of see a slight color shift here, which tells me obviously they painted, this rear end was painted whenever there was that minor fender bender. Now for the windows, this car, I'm sure the original owner had all the windows tinted, which looks great. This ding dong second owner, for some reason, maybe they got a ticket, I don't know, they took a razor blade. And now these windows were, this front driver's side and passenger side window, this was already tinted. A little lighter tint than the rear, which you usually want to do. And they took a razor blade and they scratched and removed all the tint from this window, the passenger one. They left it on the quarter panel, and then they scratched it all off of the rear window in the car. And you can see they effed up the defrost lines. They probably aren't going to work, which is something I didn't notice originally, and the people doing the tint told me about it. You can certainly see it here. Just complete idiots. Whoever this person was an absolute moron. And they did that. It's surprising they didn't trash the car because the paint is in good shape. There's not a bunch of dings or a bunch of, there's very few spots that have been touched up. There's one right here, and there's a couple small ones on the hood that someone had done, but I don't know, maybe they got a ticket and they freaked out and they did it. I mean, I would have taken it to some professional to do it and not take a razor blade, because they really messed up that stuff. So yeah, I went ahead and got that window, the passenger, the quarter panel, and I said those were already tinted, and got this done. It was dirt cheap to have it done, and it looks great now. Now another thing I did here is these little rear reflectors that are red here. I got these carbon fiber ones from AliExpress that are adhesive, and they just stick on. Again, I kind of like, I'm not a big fan of carbon fiber, so I like to kind of go with the gloss black when I can, but I mean, there are already carbon fiber on the GTS model. As you can see here, you've got carbon fiber on your side mirrors on this piece down here, and then on the front, you've got it here around the grill is carbon fiber. So there already is some carbon fiber on this, so it does kind of match, and it was not very much for these. So I put these on both sides and lined it up, and it's not going to go anywhere. I think it looks really good, because the red, I don't think was bad. A lot of people didn't like that. I think this definitely looks better. Let's see what else. The chrome delete. Now the chrome on this was almost kind of a weirdish color, and it was kind of like I wouldn't say it's fading. It just had a lot of blemishes in it. It was cloudiness and stuff, and I had buffed it, got a little bit better, but it didn't look very good. So I found these. Now you can buy a roll a lot cheaper and do this yourself. I had never done any kind of like, wrap. I've never tried to do anything like this. So what I did is I bought them. They're already pre-cut on eBay. They were like maybe 30 bucks, way too much, but they're pre-cut, and they have some adhesive on the back of them, but you still would take a heat gun to them and get it in like a plastic tool to kind of push it down. Now, I've not done a great job, but as it's sat here a while and it's warmed up over time, I think it's gotten better, but there are blemishes in it to where I can't get those out, so they're gonna make little bubbles. But I think it looks pretty good. I mean, I've taken it to a car wash a few times. Yes, I try to hand wash, but in the wintertime, the car wash here, it touches when it's actually really good, because I don't like to go through a lot of those. You don't want to scratch up your clear coat. And it's kind of pulled this up a little bit, and I've just taken the heat gun, and it's not pulled it up a lot, but overall, not too bad. Now you can also get those visors, and I used to have that on my K5, which I traded in for this, that actually uses the 3M, and it goes on here, and those do look good. That's probably $20 more. Thought I'd try with this first, and if I had trouble or this peels off, then I'll just go with those visors probably. And so far I'm pretty happy with that. So that seems to be pretty much it. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I guess I could have made a checklist, but I think I got pretty much all these. All these are really inexpensive, but they really add to the look. Now, there's like, you know, a front piece you can buy that's on AliExpress and that fits in here that I've gone back and forth with. I forget what they call it. It's a larger piece that fits in here. I might do that. I haven't really decided yet. I was gonna get it and then I thought it might look kind of silly. There's a front lip you could get, but I don't want to go too far with this. I'm 53. I don't want to drive a car that looks like a teenager's driving it, so I have to kind of find a fine balance. Since I already put my license plate in the back, I guess I won't worry about hiding it. This did not have the holes drilled in it, so what I did is, I've done this on my BMW, but I added some extra reinforcement or assurance on this one. I used double-sided the 3M tape on this, and then I have zip ties down here, which I don't know if they'll show up, that go through this bottom grill and up into this bracket, so that if that 3M comes loose, the worst case it'd flop forward, but I'm not gonna lose my license plate on the highway. The zip ties aren't gonna break loose. So far it's been totally perfect. I did have a couple little rock chips. You know, I mentioned earlier there's a few right here that someone had fixed, but boy, they're very minute here and here. But I have a touch-up pin coming at some point. I want to fix this here, and then there's a little spot down here that's actually pretty gross. I want to at least try to fill that in with the orange to make it look a little better. As far as interior mods, I really haven't done anything. I've got it's not really a mod. I've got the wireless Android Auto adapter I had in my K5. It's like 15 bucks on AliExpress, and it works pretty darn good. It's plugged in there. Now, this car didn't have any floor mats when it came. I bought it from Carvana. Gotta say, Carvana's not the, they're pretty lousy when it comes to doing anything to the car. This had low coolant. The oil filter didn't want to come off, and it had a bird's nest in the cabin filter, which is just ridiculous. If I remember, I'll put the picture of that cabin filter and what it looked like. It was repoed, it's set for 3 months, and I'm sure that's when the bird made the nest and it was sitting on some lot. But anyway, they just put some rubber mats in here, which will slide around, could buckle. I mean, they're horrible. I found these carpeted ones for 30 some odd bucks on Temu that are made with the anchors to fit this. Now, I originally ordered some rubber ones for 50 something. They didn't ever ship, and I ended up canceling the order, so I just wanted to have some in here. So I got these. So at some point, I'm sure these will wear down. I'll go ahead and put some rubber ones, but I did spray these with the stain repellent stuff. I'm forgetting the name of it. I think it's also made by 3M, but I sprayed those just to lift up any stains easier. That's pretty much on the interior. Now, I do have some AliExpress wanted me to do some reviews of some products, and I did pick out, this a carbon fiber piece that'll go here. I'm hoping it looks okay. Again, I'm not a huge carbon fiber fan. It's just going to be adhesive, so I can always pull it off. But I'll be making a separate video since they want a video for that about that. So if you want to check out what that looks like on the Stinger, because it'll fit all the Stingers, I'm sure even the GT line, then just stay tuned to the channel and I'll do a video of that as soon as it does come in. Now, real quick, in terms of like just maintenance on this car, again, I don't think that the last owner had done jack squat. So even though Carvana said they had changed the oil, I couldn't get the oil filter off. So I ended up having to, I drained the oil already. I put Royal Purple in it. And whenever I went to have the plugs changed, I took them it had only been like a week or two, another fresh oil. And the guy told me he almost gave up trying to get the cartridge filter off. He had his 27 millimeter, I believe it is, wrench attachment, and he had a chain attachment, and it finally broke loose. He put some anti-seize on it. I'm going to buy a new, it's like 16 bucks for one on Amazon, a new cartridge filter housing, because I don't know what's up with that one. Hoping maybe a new one won't be so bad, because I've not heard anybody else say they had this problem. But everything on this car is like Superman put it on. Like the calipers, that should be easy. I couldn't get the bolts to break loose, and I had broke a wheel lug, a wheel stud, so I had the local shop just replace that. I had already bought the part, and I couldn't get it off. And of course, they were able to use probably a heat gun and a breaker bar or something, a heat gun, say a torch. But I didn't have that stuff. But that's been the stuff that's been troublesome on this car. But anyway, the spark plugs, I did that. Obviously, they had the original air boxes. I actually took those, you know, when I took out the filters, they were dirty. They looked like they'd never been replaced. So I thought I'm just going to put the intake in, so I didn't have to worry about replacing the stock air boxes. So I've done those two things: the oil change, the limited slip differential in this model, which the rear wheel drive GTs have. The all-wheel drives don't have the LSDs, but this car does. The manual says to replace every 30,000 miles in the rear and inspect the front, which I don't know how you inspect the fluid, because you can't really, I guess you could open the fill side and just look at the fluid, but the fluid's gonna look dirty no matter what. But I did go ahead and drain the rear and use the AmSoil. It's a green and gray bag. It has the LSD additive in it, and it seems fine. It's super easy to do. You can basically use the bag and then just, I had a little pump thing I got off Amazon to get that, because it takes about 1.5 quarts. That was super easy, and you can back it up on my ramp. For the front, I can't get my up on the ramps. I have to use a jack, but that one's harder to get to the fill bolt or screw. So since the manual doesn't say I need to do it, because the reason why that is that your rear differential is used a lot more on this car. It depends on what drive mode you're in than the front. The front doesn't have near the wear, so I'm not too worried about it. It seems to drive just fine. I don't hear any squawking or anything weird from my differential, so that AmSoil stuff is obviously really good. So I drained that and replaced it, did the oil, the spark plugs, and then I replaced the brake pads. Now, it's kind of hard to see how much pads were on there. I didn't want to take a chance. I got new pads from Amazon, and they're, I forget which brand they are. They're one of the highly recommended ones. But the pads are actually really good. Like, the rear pads look like they were literally almost as much pad left as the brand new one. So the previous owner obviously replaced these. There's no way that was stock pads, but I don't know. Again, unless this person took it to just some local mechanic in a little garage, it isn't connected to this computer system. It doesn't show any maintenance on the Carfax. There's no, it's just one oil change at a Valvoline, and that's it. And I'm hoping to God they didn't go 50,000 miles on an oil change. But that's what I'm thinking is, and maybe they did themselves. You know, it's certainly possible, because they certainly didn't have a lot of budget considering what tires were on this car, which I'm gonna have to replace, you know, there's plenty of tread, but they're cheap except for this Michelin. They mismatched tires. I think they have these Delente tires, which is made in Thailand. I didn't put those on. They're actually surprisingly decent, but you know, you can get a whole set of these for 300 and some bucks. And I think they got those because they didn't have a lot of money, because they shouldn't have bought this car. And then they blew out this rear one, and a local shop's not gonna carry that brand, so they replaced it with a good Michelin Pilot. But you really shouldn't mismatch tires on an all-wheel drive. I didn't do this, so I think that's what they did. And like I said, there's still a lot of tread on them. I hate to get rid of it, but at the same time, I don't really like having that different. It's similar tread pattern, but yeah, that's probably what they did in terms of the tires on this car. But that's pretty much the maintenance. The pads are super easy to install. There's a plethora of videos on YouTube on how to replace these. You don't have to remove the calipers. You just slide them in and out. Real easy, and the hardest part is just getting the pin back in and making sure you get the pads in correctly, which I didn't do the first time. And then the pins don't want to go all the way through if you have them in incorrectly. All right, guys, that's pretty much everything on this car. I know I jibber-jabbered a lot, but hopefully you just fast forward through that or skipped here to the ending if you didn't want to hear all that. But yeah, I love this car. I'm hoping that it is trouble-free. The Stingers are pretty reliable. But, you know, I got rid of a K5 GT line that I bought brand new with 15,000 miles, and I've gone to a car that's 3 years older and has 50,000 more miles. This has 66,000 compared to 15. But I've gone up from a very weak 1.6 liter turbo, 180 horsepower, to a twin turbo V6 cranking out around 370 horsepower. So definitely just a massive upgrade in power. And just the look, I think it looks better. The K5 still looks good, but this looks good, and it is just a really rare car. You don't see them around. I've seen two in town in the last month since I got it, and that's all I've seen. So they're just not common. All right, guys, if you're new to the channel, you like stuff like this, or RC stuff, drones, and occasional tech review, be sure to subscribe. While you're at it, click the bell. That way you're notified when I do upload new videos. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.